Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the way.
We want it men.
Welcome to episode 259 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. I'm Glenn. We got Jason, and we've got a special guest, Laurie Goulding. He's going to join us. Goulding. Sorry, dude, can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, it's not the microphone.
My microphone. There we go. Now I got it set right.
It's not the mic.
It's not the microphone. It's me. It's not you, it's me. Is that should we write a song about that?
Taylor already did.
Taylor did. Oh, she got engaged this week. How was your girls about that, Jason? Were they pretty excited?
Yeah, I was in Dallas and I was about to do something, set up for an event, and I got a message like, Taylor's engaged. This is not a drill. And I'm like, what? So I quickly check Instagram and the announcement went out like 3 minutes before. So she must have got a push notification from Taylor that Taylor was engaged. So
oh my goodness. Which one was it? Your younger daughter or your older daughter?
Older one.
The older. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So
that happened.
Yay. So now you're a long enough listener, Laurie, so you know how this goes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Long time listener, first time Zoomer? No,
caller,
I'm not. No,
Zoomer.
Yeah, caller Zoomer. Zoomer means something else now, so we're not going to use that term.
No.
It's. I don't want to go on a tangent, but it is funny how like we use words and it's like, oh, we have to ask questions. Does this word mean anything now? Because it just changes all the time.
Oh yeah, I came a cropper with that a few weeks ago, referring to hired goons. Apparently that means something else now.
Goons does, yes.
Yeah, the kids didn't like that, so I say kids, the people I work with didn't like that.
Yeah, we had that happen we've got a buddy that has another podcast and one of the one of the people that were on the podcast, his screen name had goon in it and he had to change it.
Right. Yep.
So if we offended anybody, sorry, we're old. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, we grew up with The Goon and Goonies.
Right.
So,
yeah. We had in the UK the Goon Show. Like it didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything other than the original meaning. I don't know.
And then if you want to flip flop American to UK meanings, you could totally mess things up.
Oh, we could be offended by everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, not cool.
So the reason we got Laurie on is you grew up in the UK, right? Or you kind of
I did, yes. Yeah. So yeah.
You've got sort of a unique experience of the UK side of things. So that's why we wanted to have you on, and you've got an interesting job, and you're a writer, producer. I don't know how much you want to get into that. But we can get into that too. But you're into all kinds of fun sci-fi stuff. So we wanted to have you on and, just have a good just general conversation with you.
No, fantastic. It's a real pleasure to be here and talking to you guys. You're always on in my car when I'm driving. I'm never the guy who's shouting at the radio when you're talking, but so sometimes I'll remember the name of a character that you can't quite place like half a second before.
Yeah.
Jason looks it up.
The Google's a hell of a thing.
Yep. But I grew up in the UK. I moved to the US in 2017. So wow, approaching 10 years, 9 years almost.
Wow.
And I had been a big Star Wars kid, like so I was born in 81, so between Empire and Jedi, and I don't ever remember Star Wars not being a thing, like in my house, in my home. Like my parents were buying me Star Wars toys before I'd seen the movies.
Right.
And yeah, very, very Star Wars focused childhood. And maybe that was the beginning of everything else that followed. Who knows? All the other fantasy and sci-fi and nonsense, and toy collecting. Much to my wife's eternal annoyance, the rather large amount of toys that I now have, attempting to recapture that golden childhood in the way that I'm
Exactly.
sure we
Yeah, it's
all
like
are at some level.
when I started collecting, it was like I'm just gonna collect the things that I've been missing, and no, it
Yeah,
just
huh?
it never ends that way. It never ends well.
So you went from UK to California?
Indeed, yes,
Do
yes.
you
Moved
miss the
to
clouds?
I weirdly in the first year I was we were here, we moved here in like January, and we went back to visit in like September, and it was raining when we arrived. And I was like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember this.
Yeah.
And it was I realized it hadn't actually. It was raining when we first arrived in LA, and then it didn't rain for like 7 months. I was like, what? Where
Wow.
did? What? How do you how do the trees know when to like go green and stuff? I don't know. It was very strange, but we just spent the last week in Arizona. That's a whole different
Oh my
uh,
God.
environment right
Yeah, it
there.
is.
Even though it actually rained more in the week we were in Arizona than it has probably this year in California. So I don't know what to believe anymore.
Right. I didn't realize how hot Arizona is or how just a different atmosphere it was. We flew out there, it's 100, and you've got a
Hmm.
jacket on, and then you fly
Hmm.
back to Atlanta, it's 80 and you're sweating.
I was walking down the corridor at work yesterday, and obviously, air conditioned office building, and I suddenly, oh, a bit cold, bit chilly, and I was, wait, did I acclimatize to Arizona in like 5 days? What happened?
Right.
This is just normal office temperature, surely. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, I just remember my dad like giving us all water and he's like, drink it. You don't think you need it, but you're gonna need it. It's gonna come out of nowhere.
speaking of which, I should have some water. There we go.
And you work for Warhammer right now?
No, I worked for Warhammer previously, for
Okay.
Games Workshop, working on the Warhammer properties and stuff like that. So I was a commissioning editor and a writer, so
Okay.
working on all of the story and world building and the various novel series and stuff like that, and audio stories, which was always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I left Games Workshop when I came to the US.
Okay. So what do you do now?
So I work in video games, and I
Uh,
work on the storytelling and character expression side of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's there's a lot of amazing opportunities for somebody that's incredibly geeky and
yeah.
knows about Star Wars and that kind of that stuff.
I assume you love it, writing
Yeah.
for video
Oh,
games?
yeah. It was never on my list of things I imagined I'd be doing. But when the opportunity comes along. I remember like there was photos again, like family photos of like me and my sister sat in front of really old microcomputers, like in the mid early 80s. And there was one particular photo. It was me looking very intently at the keyboard, like I knew what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing, but it looked like I was programming or something. And there's just a line of Star Wars action figures along the top of the monitor, and I'm like,
Nice.
that's my childhood encapsulated in an image there, including my sister sort of looking on in confusion at whatever it is I'm doing.
And what is it like to write for video games? Do you have a lot of creative freedom, or do they tell you you need to get to this location, so write a story to get to that location?
It honestly depends. I think it depends on the game. It depends on what IP you're working in or what
Yeah.
kind of universe. And if there's lots of established rules and world building, or like the equivalent of a show Bible for TV or something
Yep.
like that. And a lot of the time, so even when I started working at Games Workshop on Warhammer, I knew a lot from my childhood, playing the games and so on and so forth. But there wasn't like a clear place where you could go to find out the really small, detailed facts about the setting. And we had to kind of build that depending on what we were working on. And I found that the same when I got here and started working in games, and I was looking around. I was like, so where do I learn about what already exists? Oh, just like go read what we've already published. It's like, yeah, but where's like the behind the scenes truth? And that is a more common thing than I ever expected. Is like the behind the scenes truths of these IPs and these things. They're not always they don't always exist, or the people sometimes can't agree on it. And I think that's really interesting when you hear stuff about Lucasfilm. I think like maybe a year and a half ago or something like that, they were hiring for, I presume, Pablo Hidalgo adjacent kind of role of like knowing everything there is to know about that IP and being able to just conjure forth those facts. I think a lot of those people are very sought after. But I remember again working when I was back on Warhammer, and I remember there was a specific day where I thought, what am I going to do with my brain when this current series that I'm working on ends? Because I have filled up my brain with all of this knowledge and all of this minutiae. I don't know what to do with it after this. Like, I'm not going to need it forever. Like, eventually this series will end, and then I'll have to what? Like, oh, I should probably diversify my knowledge a little bit. Like, start learning other IPs.
Interesting. Henry Cavill's a big Warhammer fan.
He is. He's much celebrated and adored at
Yeah,
head
do you ever
office.
swing by? Did you ever say, "Hey, Soups"?
It was after my time when he sort of came out as the huge fan that he is. But
right.
Loads of people that I worked with were all like taking selfies and a couple of my former writer colleagues, I remember one time I got a text from one of them, and he said, like, just took a screenshot while you were messaging me, and you could see my name. It's like typing, and underneath it says Henry typing. He says, that's Henry Cavill, by the way. You both messaging me at the same time. Like, okay.
Wow.
Adjacent to it. I'm adjacent to greatness once again,
So were you ever, because I know like in the UK there's a big like Warhammer store or Warhammer World. Were you part of that? Yeah.
That was Warhammer World is the visitor center at the head office. So
Okay.
I was based at the head office in Nottingham, home of Robin Hood and all of that. And the Warhammer World Visitor Center, it was being refurbished when I arrived, and then it was being refurbished again when I left, like 6 years later or something. And I go back every so often, visit people. They have like a tavern, like a fantasy themed tavern pub bar, and it's really fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy going there. And actually, when I was in Arizona last week, we went to a game store. Oh my God, I've forgotten the name of it. That's awful. It was near Tucson, and I walked in and was like, oh my God, it's like Bugman's Bar. They had a fantasy themed bar just in a mall, which was the strangest thing. Like a deserted desert mall, and lots of closed stores, but then a game store, and you go in the back of the game store, and there was just a fantasy pub with like bardcore music playing, and this is amazing. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
They've got one of those in Florida at Gods and Monsters. You kind of go around the corner, and then you open a door, and there's a bar in the same way in the back of a comic store.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody just manifests their interest. Like, I want to have a comic store with a fantasy themed pub in the back. Like, cool, make it happen.
Yeah.
And you'll find your audience. Build it, and if you build it, they will come. Wow, Field of Dreams on a Saturday morning. Didn't think I'd be quoting Kevin Costner at this point.
That's two Kevin Costners. It was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yep.
Field of Dreams.
How do you know he wasn't going Men in Tights, Jason?
Because it's not Kevin Costner.
And also Kenner with the wonderful range of Robin Hood action figures, which I have somewhere in one of the boxes. I have the whole range of those as well. Never look at them. I love them, but I never look at them.
All the recycled parts.
Indeed. Friar Tuck, the Gamorrean guard.
Yeah, I picked up a Friar Tuck just because it's like you've got to buy them. It's the same thing. And then the Ewok Village is the Ewok Village, and not the battle. Is it a battle tank? No, the battle wagon.
Sherwood. Yeah, the battle wagon in Sherwood Forest. All recycled kind of parts. I think this is, again, with design, this is something that I've been learning a lot more about in the last 5 or 6 years. The amount of recycled content that the toys kind of use, and like I'm a big fan of the Terminator 2 license that bore everybody to death talking about Terminator all the time, and Aliens and Predator and all of those. And you look at the prototypes, and you look at some of the ideas that they did eventually use, which were prototypes of other ranges as well. And it's like there's no good ideas left behind. They're just using everything all the time. And it really humanizes that stuff that seemed like these huge monolithic amazing ideas and toys and products that we had when we were kids, and it's just guys like, what can we do? We got the deadline in 5 minutes. Let's put something together for the presentation.
What can we do and not spend any money?
Exactly. There you go.
See, so Jason, clones have been a thing for 30 years.
Whatever. I see you got a Predator 2 thing back there too.
Yeah, that's one of the comic books from the adaptations that they did. Was it Dark Horse?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the for the ones from when they adapted the movies at the time. Got up there, I've got the Blade Runner as well outshot, and
Is that a Dark Tower?
Dark Tower. No,
Okay.
where
No.
we're
That,
looking.
to the right, it looks like
This
Dark.
one?
Yeah.
That's Babylon 5, another
Okay, never mind.
spin-off adaptation. But yeah, and yeah, you got the Terminator concept art above me there on the wall behind me. But I've never been a big comics guy, but like in fact you can't see it because it's behind the wall that's in front of me behind the computer monitor. But I've just got a wall of comics. I've never been a big comics collector, but I've got so many of them, and it's usually the adaptations and the licenses that interest me. That was a kind of a rude awakening moment when I had the wall of Terminator comics and artwork and posters, and so wait, am I not a Star Wars fan? Am I a Terminator fan? That might be it. That might have been the moment that the crossover happened. But yeah.
No, I feel you, because it does feel that way. Like you get to a certain point with Star Wars, and it's like I've got to do something else.
Yeah, yeah. Collected all of the figures and everything that I remember and everything I can afford. Like what else? Oh, Terminator 2. I remember these.
Yeah.
I can somewhere in the apartment, my wife is tutting very loudly. I can hear it. Like,
do you like the new Terminator stuff, or you like the James Cameron Terminator stuff?
I much prefer the first two movies.
Yeah.
I think like the original I didn't appreciate when I was younger, and I think I remember like Christmas shopping, like with my mom and my sister, and we went into a toy store and they had Terminator 2 action figures. This is probably my first exposure to this brand. And my mom was like, "Oh, we'll buy those for your cousins, like two cousins for Christmas." And I was like, "Yeah, but what if I could also have them?" You know, and then spent like the next 2 weeks trying to convince her that I should have those toys instead of my cousins. But then we went into a video store and they had Terminator 2 on VHS, just been released.
Yeah.
And I managed to persuade my mom that I should have it, even though I wasn't old enough for the UK rating for that movie. She was like, "Okay, but you can't watch it until you're old enough." And I was like, yeah,
right.
What if instead we watch it tonight?
Right.
Like, and you can watch it with me to make sure it's okay. And yeah, so I was obsessed with Terminator 2 for several years, then realized Terminator 1 is actually amazing as well. I like Salvation, and I like bits and pieces of everything else that they've done. I like the video game stuff is phenomenal. The more recent stuff. Terminator Resistance, again, I'll bore anybody to death. Terminator Resistance, if you like the first two movies, it is like the perfect game. And it's not even a particularly innovative or well-crafted like story experience. It's great, it's good enough, but the immersion and the sound effects and the music, oh my God, if you love those first two movies, you're gonna love that game.
Yeah,
and you can play as a Terminator and kill everybody, so that's also fun.
Oh, that's different. I was like 12 or 13 when I first saw Terminator 2, and I was all in on it. I loved every piece of that. And then they released an extended edition with the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was phenomenal, with Kyle Reese, and then the alternate ending, and the Terminator being a little bit more humanized. I thought it was a better movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was interesting as well to see what they cut, because now I own multiple different versions of the movie.
Yeah.
And like comparing it back to the UK home video VHS release that I remember and watched, hundreds of times when I was younger. And they cut out some really weird stuff just for the UK. Like they cut out where she picks the lock in the hospital. Yeah. They cut all of that out. They're like, that's too realistic. We don't want people learning how to pick locks. Apparently, allegedly, that's what they said. But like when he grabs the guy in the same, just after the hospital escape, he throws the guy into the pillar. The cop throws him into the pillar, and they take his car. They cut the impact where he hits the pillar. I'm like, so I'd never seen that cop hit the pillar until I watched the extended version. Oh, that's much more violent, but it was only cut from the UK version. I'm sure there's like little moments here and there that they cut. But, yeah, the UK was pretty heavy-handed with that stuff for a while.
Predator 2, do you prefer that over the first one?
No.
Okay, good. You just have it
Uh,
hanging on the wall. I was like, does he like that one better?
there's not much of a story to adapt for comics in the
No.
original movie, I suppose.
Mm.
Predator 2, so again, talking about like working in an IP or working, looking at movies and adaptations and spin-offs and all of that stuff and all of the more recent Star Wars stuff. I think there is a very distinct difference for me between what you enjoy and what is good. You can enjoy something that's
Yes.
not good. Like Predator 2, I know objectively is not as good as the original movie, and it's cheesy as hell and it's very derivative, but I enjoy it and I will watch it regularly. But I know it's not good. But it's like I know this ice cream is not healthy, but I'm still going to eat it.
I don't know if
Um,
it's not as good. It's a good movie. It's just not as good as the first one.
yeah, exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
different.
If you're going to spend 90 minutes, like which one are you going to pick? And I'm like,
I'll
well,
put the
Predator
first
2,
one.
it has its
Get to the
merits.
chopper.
Yeah, there we go. There's again working. I feel like there are three rules, and I talk about this whenever it comes up at work. Like three rules. So you're going to adapt something or create a sequel or a reboot. If you're going to do that, like you need to remember why audiences like the original thing. Like I think this is why Terminator fails sometimes with some of the
Mm.
different things. You need to remember what the audience loves about it and just give them that again. Give them exactly what they like. It's not quips and one-liners. Terminator is not the Terminator being sassy. That's not what people like about it. But then also add in something new. Like make sure you do give the audience something they didn't get the previous times. And then also just don't mess up what already exists. Don't retcon stuff. Like try and make it fit as much as possible. So by that criteria, Predator 2 is a perfectly successful sequel
Yeah.
because it gives you exactly what you had before, adds something new, and it doesn't mess up the first movie.
What about Empire Strikes Back? Because it's not exactly what. Well, I'm bringing it back. Sorry, I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it. I'm
He's
bringing it
always
back.
Yes,
got to bring it back.
No, but
sure.
it goes with what you're saying because it's not exactly what came before.
Yeah, so the Force, Jedi,
That's there.
lightsabers,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, the Empire getting bigger and scarier, all of that stuff is there, and more stuff to think about, like questions of identity and
Mm.
is anyone truly good or evil? Like, could Luke turn to the dark side? Like that kind of stuff. And
It,
then don't it doesn't completely retcon the first movie. So yeah, another successful sequel. I think we can all agree.
I guess
But
tonally it's different.
yeah,
When I think
absolutely.
about Terminator 1 and 2, tonally they're the same, but Empire is different than the first one, or A New Hope. But then they go back to it in Return of the Jedi. That's more of A New
Yeah.
Hope than it is Empire Strikes Back.
I think again, you look at Andor very tonally different from a lot of what has come previously, but it
Yeah.
still feels like an exceptionally successful and interesting take and gives people definitely something they didn't see before. Just keep it fresh without changing everything every time, I think is probably the way that I try to.
It's funny. I was thinking today of Andor because Simon Kinberg, who's writing episodes 10, 11, and 12, was talking about how Andor is an inspiration for his Star Wars movies.
Mhm.
But I'm like, he needs to be careful because George Lucas did the same thing in the prequels.
Mhm.
So you do the political thing, it could turn like George Lucas in the prequels, or it could be Tony Gilroy in Andor. Like, there's two sides of a coin. Which side are you going to
Mhm.
flip to?
Mhm. Mhm.
He needs to be careful when he's talking like that.
I think there's an interesting kind of idea, like what level of, oh, we're going to do a political story. Oh, the taxation of trade routes. Almost just the backstory for lots of, shoot to
Yeah,
death kill, as
yeah,
opposed to like, oh, we're actually going to dig into how people can disagree on political like positions and feeling very much of its time as a story, as a piece of media. But if you only ever look at stuff on the surface level from like if a writer doesn't really understand the nuances of political disagreement or how governments can grind to a halt, they're only going to produce a superficial version of that. If they, I know you can't it's really hard to fake it if you don't know it and know
yeah.
at least enough about it to make it interesting. And I think back to like stuff like The West Wing, like clearly an understanding of how the
Yes,
government and all of that stuff kind of interacted and worked
yes,
and collaborated with one another and disagreed with one another, and yet still the wheels of government turned. And you need to, you can't write that kind of story if you're not familiar with that stuff. And I think yeah, you could try. You could have some kind of surface level. Oh yeah, it's going to be set within the government, but it's actually going to be about Jedi fighting each other. It's like, yeah, that's not going to feel quite the same as,
Well,
the deep explorations.
that's a good point because Tony Gilroy has studied rebellions
Yeah.
and fascism, and George Lucas was just using broad strokes to tell his
Mhm.
story. And so I don't know if Simon Kinberg has studied history, so we're probably leaning more towards George Lucas than Tony Gilroy with Simon Kinberg's treatment.
Yeah. It's
Maybe.
not to say that, if he wants to do that kind of deep, in-depth story, like there, lean on other writers, look around, like dig into it, find that interesting angle. Why am I trying to why am I schooling Simon Kimber? I'm never going to meet the guy. Um, but yeah, I think that it'd be interesting to see what comes out of it for sure, because I do think Andor has changed the discourse of Star Wars a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember like with the first season, it was roughly 50-50. People, oh, this is boring, I don't like it. And then other people are like, what are you talking? This is like the best thing that's ever been made for Star Wars. I
It
remember
is.
watching all three of when they premiered like the first three episodes of season one, and I
Yeah.
was at work and I happened to have two like hour-long meetings that got cancelled. I was like, what if I just get a meeting room and just real quick watch all of Andor?
Why
Um,
not?
message my gaming group and I was like, oh, I think this might be like one of my favorite Star Wars things ever, not just the TV shows. Like this is actually feels like a great story with characters that make sense. Plus so many
Yes.
Brits in the cast and filmed on location and all of that. It's hard not to adore
It
it.
was like home.
Exactly. Yeah, I get to see the rain and the squalor and the rolling hills. And
You're like, I know that place.
yeah.
You were also
Lo-
talking about retcons.
mm.
So do you consider Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker a retcon?
Try and catch me out in an interview. Uh, Rise of Skywalker, I think, as a sequel, it expanded on lots of stuff that was already there,
Yeah.
and I think it. I wouldn't consider it a retcon, but I would consider it a little bit of an overreach of what made sense.
Yeah.
Um, I think with all of the, everybody, I really dislike when I see people arguing about the movies and people will find any horrible reason to dismiss those sequel movies. I didn't personally enjoy them, but I'm really glad that they exist.
Hmm.
And I've watched them all a couple times compared to, Andor. I've watched almost on repeat for the past 2 years. But yeah, I think there was several ideas in there that were like, I can see where it's coming from. I'm just not sure it entirely makes sense or is the best execution of this idea.
Yeah.
And you can see how the three movies are kind of patched together from the different
Yes.
creative minds.
Yes.
And yeah, it was nice to see Ian McDermott again, you know.
Absolutely. And I'm glad at least Simon Kinberg's working on the whole arc instead of just focusing on one
Yeah,
movie and handing it off to the next person, because I think that's where they trip themselves up a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And again, I know I've seen this many times, like studios or companies or IP holders will often wait to see how the first thing is received before they commit to, sequels
Yeah.
or further
Yeah.
content. And there's only so much you can do. And it's amazing, Star Wars, the original movie, like was, very, very unlikely that it ever would have got made, but it did. And then, okay, sequel and then spin-off and then franchise. And, here we all are, nearly 50 years later. But if you wait to see if the first one's successful every time, you lose a lot of those opportunities to tie things together and shoot things at the same time and that kind of thing. And you can get those mismatches in tone and story. And, some of your actors might not be available anymore. You have to either recast or write them out. Tragically, with Star Wars, we've lost quite a few of them. And I remember that horrible moment where Carrie Fisher had passed away and it was in the news. And then somebody tweeted at the time, like, you just know that there's a room of executives trying to figure out how to kill her again now for the movies. That's horrible, but actually really true. And they now have to figure out how to deal with the loss of such an important actor within this series. Also tell a story that makes sense. And,
Yeah. That threw a
my,
wrench in things.
yeah, it's heartbreaking to see. that's also living in Los Angeles, like as a Brit, like seeing all of these locations for Terminator 2 and Airheads and all of these places that
Airheads, yes.
I, I wouldn't be in Los Angeles now if it hadn't been for Airheads. I
Oh my
went to the Whiskey on Sunset and like to see like a couple of bands play. I was like, oh my God, this like White Zombie was on this stage in Airheads. It's amazing.
You know what? Speaking of Airheads, you know there's a band, the guy where they're in the club and there's the band. The guy's got a totem on his chest, blonde hair. Um, I don't know. I
In
forgot what the band's name is, but that band is
in
called
Airheads.
yeah, Inheritance.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're just in the bar talking. And there's a band on the stage playing, and
Mhm.
it's just they're playing and they're making fun of them. I know that band. They're called the
No
Galactic
way.
Cowboys. They're out of Texas. They're like one of
Oh,
my
amazing.
favorite bands, and it's funny. They had like a blip in that movie. And it's just that they make fun of themselves because it's like, yeah, we thought it would make us big, and it did nothing for us.
We're
Oh,
the
no
Lone
way.
Rangers.
The law, yeah,
Shouldn't you be the Three Rangers? No, no, we
right,
don't. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know the scene that you're talking about. Yeah, I think
Yeah, and it's just like
yeah,
they get up there and yeah, it's just totally different music than what they're used to playing. And
right.
he's the lead singer Ben is shirtless with a totem, and he actually a few years ago during COVID, he was like going through his closets and he still has that totem that like all the guys signed and stuff. So it's just
Hmm.
kind of funny.
That's
Um
awesome.
yeah, but you mentioned Airheads, and I'm like, I've got to tell that story that I know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
band. I know
It's not
those
often that
guys.
you get the opportunity to tell an Airhead story in this day and
Right,
age. You know, it's like.
exactly. It's like totally out of left field. Airheads.
But yeah, seeing like the locations and so on, like I see the Nakatomi Plaza building every time I go to work, like drive right past, like, Die Hard, and also the outside of Rebel Radio from Airheads. But like literally the park, I'm like, I recognize that parking lot. It looks like, oh yeah, it's in Die Hard and
Yeah,
Airheads.
with everything shot here in Georgia, I do that every time I watch something
Right.
in Georgia. And I don't. I think it drives my wife kind of crazy because I'm like, I know where that is. I know
Yeah.
that place. And you
I've
drive by because the Porsche headquarters was used in Avengers, so you
right.
drive by and you're like, that's Avengers, the Avengers
Yeah.
place.
It's great if the person that you're driving with knows what you're talking about, and if you don't, you sound
Yeah,
insane. Like, but yeah, like seeing all of that stuff and seeing these locations and like uh, the Griffith Observatory is like my favorite place in Los Angeles. Like looking down, it's like yeah, and this is where Arnold stood when he arrived. Completely naked, but I won't stand directly where he was standing, of course. But
Forget
it
Arnold. That's where the Rocketeer was.
here
sure,
comes Jason
sure.
Rocketeer.
I mean, I gather La La Land was there, but I've never
Yeah, it
seen it.
was.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, but alongside all of that, like you see all these locations from movies, but you also realize that you're in like the backyard of all of these actual like actors and movie stars. And one of the things I think when I first came over here, when I was interviewing for the job that I eventually got in LA, I went to where Lemmy from Motorhead was like had just like the previous week like had been like his ashes had been interred at the cemetery. And when I came over and I sort of took my wife and my sister and said like, oh, you got to go see this. Like this, they've now put a plaque where Lemmy's ashes are into like big Motorhead fan like for years. And then they happened to put Carrie Fisher just around the corner with Debbie
Oh,
Reynolds as well. I was like,
Wow.
oh my God. And again, that's their that's literally where their family goes to, to remember them and pay respects and so on. And that's where it starts to feel like, oh, Hollywood, land of dreams and excitement, and all of these places that you recognize from movies, TV, and film. It's like, and also where these people live and have actual lives and would like a little bit of privacy, I guess. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Now I get to tell you a Lemmy story, but I had a buddy that was out in LA and he's just walking down by the whiskey or whatever, walking that
yeah,
strip, and Lemmy is just It's not no big deal. It's like
yep.
that's Lemmy. Holy crap. And he's just like, hey, what's up?
A very very regular patron at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, I believe, like his local bar
Yeah.
yep.
on Sunset. My sister has a Lemmy story. I don't have a Lemmy story, and that's really annoying to me. But she was in college, university, and she was working on the bar, like just a bit of evening work, and they used to have lots of bands come through and perform. And she said she was like, I don't know, cleaning the pumps for the beer or something. And she said, in her words, this goth cowboy walked in, like this, like just completely at odds with all of like the British students around him, like strode up to the bar, ordered a Jack Daniels and Coke, and she sort of like, sorry, this is going to be really, are you Lemmy? And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you sign something for my brother? This napkin, like, and so Lemmy signed a napkin for me, and I have that, like, I have it in an acrylic case, obviously now. I'm not going to get another one at this point.
No, that's
Um,
awesome.
but he's the only person ever to spell my name correctly without being told how to spell it.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
that's got to count for something. So even
right.
though, he's no longer with us, I feel like I got that secondhand connection to Lemmy.
Does it have any DNA on it you could use to clone another
Resurrect him.
Lemmy?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would start us down a whole ethical argument. Should we ever clone Lemmy?
Yeah.
Should we ever create a simulacrum of the Great One?
well, that's what
Wow.
Jurassic Park did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get dark. Oh, please.
And I think the answer is no.
The problem is we could also end up with Snoke and then into Palpatine. It wouldn't be the same,
Hey, you know what? That's the perfect example of how that last Jurassic Park turned out. We got Snoke.
I've still not seen the new
I
one.
haven't either.
Don't
No,
waste your
okay.
time. Don't waste your time.
Okay.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I trust
Wait
you- I
for it to
trust
come
your
out on
opinion,
video.
so
It should
okay.
be out on video soon, and you can see it there. So, how has Star Wars influenced your writing?
Oh my God. Oh wow. I mean, I frequently have to remind myself, don't just do Star Wars. Don't do the
Yeah.
thing from Star Wars. It's interesting to think about the number of times where I catch myself using like little phrases and
Yep.
so on that from anything that I've watched, and the number that I seem to have like filed away in my head from Star Wars just at a subconscious level. But I also get that with like Lord of the Rings or like War of the Worlds. Any number of things that I'm really, really familiar with, the words or the text of the story. I'll find little phrases keep creeping in, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna do not Star Wars, but also I'm just gonna put this little reference in to see if anybody gets it, that kind of thing, and like picking out place names from Blade Runner and stuff like that. But I think Star Wars, like as I said right at the start, like I don't ever remember a time when Star Wars wasn't in like my childhood.
Yeah.
I don't remember the first time I watched watched the movies. I don't remember, like I never remember not knowing that Luke and the link between Luke and Vader. That was just like, yeah, obviously that's father and son. Like, so the big reveal, I think Empire was maybe the last movie that I watched out of the original trilogy for some reason, as a very young child.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, obviously we knew that already because I've already seen Return of the Jedi. Like, of course,
Right.
not a surprise, but it does. It's strange to think that's actually something that I try to bear in mind, that anytime you create something, it's going to be somebody's first time in that series or that show or that IP or whatever it is you're working on.
Mhm.
Somebody is going to be experiencing this for the first time, and they won't
Right.
know all of the deep lore connections and the stuff that's it's really obvious. It's
Yeah.
like Vader is Luke's father. I think it is a little bit rich when somebody says, "Hey, stop discussing Empire Strikes Back. I haven't watched it. Spoilers." And I'm like, yeah, the movie came out like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You need. I think it's on you at this point.
Spoilers are 9 months. It's not 40 years.
Yeah.
Go watch
Right.
the movie.
But I love watching. I was talking about this yesterday actually. I love watching reaction videos
Uh-huh.
on YouTube to movies that I know really well,
Oh,
because from a storycraft perspective, I think it's really interesting to look at how people who are not familiar with it react in real time and
Mhm.
figure out, like Terminator, for example. I've watched dozens of Terminator, to the first one, Terminator 1,
yeah.
dozens of those videos where people react to watching it for the first time. And when you see the moment that they connect in their head, oh, wait, is this guy a robot? Like, or when you have that screen at the beginning, like the machines rose from the ashes of the nuclear fire, and then we just go to like 1984, and there's no explanation overtly. I mean, if you know the movie, or inside out, like, yeah, obviously because Arnold's been sent back to assassinate but all that information is pieced out through the first hour of the movie, and seeing people who are completely unfamiliar with it like experience it in real time, it can be really helpful when you
Mhm.
consider how to pace and structure and reveal stuff within your own stories. So from that perspective, it's really good to know something inside out, like Star Wars, Terminator, Predator, any number of things. Know them inside out, know exactly how they go about constructing their story, but also think about how people experiencing it for the first time would not know that stuff and try to take advantage of that and the reveal of information over time, or deliberately not saying things and allowing space for people to craft their own, headcanon or theories and stuff like that. I think there's so much space as we discover, we keep getting new content in Star Wars, and some of it is repetitive. Some of the ideas we see come back time and time again. Like, how many times has Vader had his mask smashed open at this point in a lightsaber duel? Like, I don't know,
too
more
many.
than once.
Too many times.
But it doesn't hit the same every time if you've seen it more than once. But for somebody out there, that's the first time they've seen it happen, and so
Right.
that's the definitive one for them. And so, just bearing that in mind, you can repeat stuff. It's not necessarily identical, but like it rhymes, with that. Like, it's not
Just
a
like
repeat, but it
George
rhymes.
says.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But yeah, in general, I think a lot of I remember as well, like very clearly, you have that shot in Return of the Jedi. So I must have been like 5 years old. I can't have been any older than 5. When you have that shot of Luke when Vader's taunting him during the final duel and he's hiding, and half his face is blue and half his face is in the light. Shadow and light, and he's obviously this was a 4:3 ratio version that I was watching, so I didn't see like the full backdrop. I didn't see this off to one side in the widescreen kind of composition. But as Vader's in the background taunting him, and I remember thinking, as a 5-year-old, like one of the annoyingly precocious 5-year-olds, because Luke is equally drawn to the dark and the light at this moment in his story. Like, what kind of 5-year-old notices stuff like that? But yeah, the visual symbolism and like I still get excited when I hear the music from Return of the Jedi for when they've hit the reactor or they're about to hit the reactor and then they have to escape. Because like within the big culmination of this trilogy of moments, you have the Imperial March theme, and you have the Rebel like exciting Star Wars theme, and they merge them together, and it's like, doesn't matter if you're Rebel or Imperial, you need to get out right now because this thing's gonna blow.
Yeah.
And that music is phenomenal. Like that's one of the most exciting cues in the original trilogy to me. So, and again, like super specific detail, which is absolutely key to the storytelling, but subconsciously, they don't call it out, they don't say that. But I think that's where those moments of subtlety, people accuse Star Wars of not being subtle at times. I'm like, no, there's a huge amount of subtlety in there. It's just that there's also a bunch of very direct stuff, like very obvious points.
Well, that's George's style too. So
yeah.
You ever write for yourself?
As in personal projects?
Yeah.
I've done a few bits and pieces. I've got a couple projects that I've had going since before I moved to LA that I'm still working on. But yeah, bits and pieces here and there. I have found I used to write for myself and also like fan fiction before I worked professionally, like doing this stuff. And my grandmother was a published writer, just like a local author as well. She had like a semi-autobiographical novel. So like the idea that people would tell their own stories or things that appeal to them. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like if you're a writer, you're going to be writing even if nobody's paying you. And then when I started getting paid to write and to edit and to produce stories and kind of work in this space, I found that my free time was not then spent writing because I was doing it all day. I didn't necessarily want to do it all evening as well. That's when I really started binging the box sets on Netflix and so on. But I do occasionally. Were you going somewhere? Did you want to ask me what? Or no? Okay.
No, I was just asking because when you're a writer, you write. So I didn't know if it stopped at 5 or if you continued writing in the evening.
I'm very, very sporadic when I write, but like I'll be like we'll finish watching something or like we'll have dinner, we'll get back from going out, and then I'll suddenly be like, oh my God, I think I just need to go and write this down. 5 hours later, I'll emerge having written 7 pages. And so like I know when I'm inspired to write something or when I suddenly have the idea that unlocks the thing I'm working on, I have to do it right then and there. Doesn't matter what time of day or
Yes.
night it is, or it will escape. The idea will disappear off into the ether. But yeah, I again, like I used to, one of my tasks at Games Workshop for Warhammer was finding new writers, and it was really interesting with the publishing imprint that they had, which is called Black Library, still around by the same name now. It was fascinating to me that the majority of the readers also wanted to write for the brand, and that was one of my roles, was to find the actual the true talent within the people who would regularly kind of apply and send in samples and so on. But so many times we say, how do I become a writer? Like, well, you pick up a pen or you get your keyboard and you open the thing and you start writing. Like, what do you mean? How do you become a professional writer? That's a different matter, because then you're going to be far more driven by what people are asking you to write and what they're willing to pay you to write or create. And I think that's true of any creative work, like music, art, like anything. If you can find somebody who's willing to give you money in exchange for the thing that you love and you want to do, that's fantastic. More often, you're going to be paid to create the thing that they want you to create, and that's corporate creativity.
Yeah. I understand that all too well.
Yeah.
But
I don't. Yeah.
what?
No. It's just 'cause I don't ever recall. Fellow bass player here, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I yeah. Well, so there's a little bit more to it than that. But yeah. Lemmy with his strong influence on my teenage years and so on. But the number of times where we would be touring and gigging and performing, like 4 or 5 nights a week, playing our own material, and just about making gas money back. Like, oh, you can maybe get a McDonald's from the rest stop on the way back, compared to, oh yeah, we're performing in a covers band playing like ska and stuff like that. Oh no, you're going to get paid like hundreds and hundreds to as a group to appear and perform at like this specific event and play just covers. And I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrong part of the game here. Just be doing covers. Nobody necessarily wants what I'm creating myself yet, but definitely they want to hear, these songs that they know and love, and they want to hear them live. So maybe just get paid to do that instead.
Yeah, it's still like that. So.
Yep. It do be like that always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best thing ever written?
By me or in general?
In general.
I wouldn't class myself anywhere on the list. One of my favorite book of all time that I just cannot stop going back to, and I think has a lot of connections with Andor, 1984, George Orwell. Oh my God. So prescient and so painfully British in its outlook, and also just there has not been a bad adaptation of it either. So I think there's something that speaks to this kind of universal fear that kind of manifested in the 20th century and through to today. But like I read that like once a year probably.
Really? It's so bleak.
It is, and I love it.
Well, it's British, so
yep, that's it. We thrive on the bleak. But
it was a one and done for me. I was like, I can't. No, this is too depressing.
Exactly. That's why I love it. I don't know. It reminds me of like Christopher Lee saying he would read Lord of the Rings once a year, and I was like, okay, that's a bit much, but like fair play to Christopher Lee. Who's going to argue with him? But well, no one now. But
Colbert. I would imagine he reads it pretty frequently for all the knowledge he has for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and again, like these are there is always that kind of the possibility that the people working on and adapting and creating content in a setting might not know it as well as the truly dedicated fans. Fans, if you ever want to know what you've got wrong in an adaptation or a spin-off or a new piece of media, the fans will tell you, and they will tell you 1 minute after it launches.
Oh yeah.
And that is a universal truth that I see with, I mean, Star Wars gets that all the time. Something comes out, immediately reaction videos explaining every single lore detail and everything that doesn't make sense. Like that's the modern fandom, I guess. I guess that's what all fandom is now, is pointing out the things you recognize and feel validated for having noticed, and the things that you hate and don't make sense and you could have done it better if you were in charge, etc., etc.
Blame social media and getting likes and views.
That's it. There you go.
Because when you're pissed off, you get more views than when you're nice.
Yeah.
You
people
have a
making anger videos just for the clout.
Right.
you have a case of collectibles behind you. So we are a
Mm.
Star Wars collecting podcast. So now that we've talked for 53 minutes, what are some of the stuff you have back there that you keep in the top shelf?
This is a work in progress behind me. This is also about maybe 20% of the collection. There's stuff on this side as well that you can't see, and there is the stuff in the living room, which my wife very graciously allows me to display, which is mainly the vintage Star Wars. So
Yeah.
there's no vintage Star Wars in here, but like directly behind me here we have Solo themed
Okay.
like all of the 5-point articulation Solo figures and
All four of the figures that they released.
that was so I thought there wasn't that many until I decided to collect them, and I was like, oh wait, there's an annoyingly large number here.
There's more.
But
There's more than you realize, but less than like Force Awakens.
yeah, and with some of the repacks and so on, it made it kind of. I was like, do I care about having these in pack
No.
now? I'm not going to collect all the variant packaging. That's pointless. Below that, though, I have my K2SO collection. That whole shelf is just K2SO stuff, and that's like, I do have the variant packaging for K2SO because he's my boy. And then on the shelf above Solo is all of the Rogue One. Well, it's not all of the Rogue One stuff. It's everything that I could fit in there. A couple of, in fact, I think that's actually my final remaining Black Series stuff. I have like Tarkin and a couple of bits on there, but like loads of Shore Troopers. That's where. And Jason, you absolutely got me to start looking at the vintage collection, which I was not interested in before that.
Oh, I apologize, but congratulations.
I'll play this to my wife. You're the reason.
I apologize
that
to your
happened.
wife.
But yeah, that's again, I just love the packaging design they did for Rogue One stuff. So I collected a lot of weird stuff there with like they made like glass tumblers and plates, and like somewhere there's like I've got like Rebel and Imperial flags and stuff like that, like actual like full fabric flags.
Yeah.
Really, really strange stuff, but obviously I can't fit it all into that one shelf. But and then at the top, again, work in progress, there's like Terminator and Terminator 2 stuff, like VHS and like weird the like fast food drinks cups that are absolutely dreadful quality. But then, and then
Filled with lead.
Yeah, so
Lead
they'd never pass the safety standards by today's measure, I'm sure. But also, when I got this, I think, what is this one? Like Subway, and it's the Thirst Terminator. I'm like, and even I was looking at it, I was like, why have I bought this? Like, it's just completionism at this point. And then on the other side over here, which is kind of glared out by the window, you can see there's again lots of Terminator 2 stuff on the top two shelves, including some of the really weird like knockoff Lego sets that they made. Very, very strange stuff. And the most mystifying piece of merchandise that I think has ever been created, which you definitely cannot see because it's glared out, the real United Cutlery Terminator 2 dagger that he uses to stab the biker in the shoulder in like the opening scene.
Really?
That's a piece of merch that they made, and it's not like a toy. It is a knife, like an actual dagger. So I've got that. I don't know how I'm ever gonna eventually take that back to the UK at some future. Like, do you have anything to declare? Like a 12-inch dagger? Like, yep, straight to jail. Yeah, lots of Terminator 2 bits, and then at the bottom we have like some of the 12-inch Star Wars stuff, particularly Solo. And I really like Solo. I really like Rogue One, so I've collected a lot more of that stuff. And there's a Lego K2SO in there as well. I just got the new it's on the other side of the room, the new K2SO, the specialist build, far more detailed than the original like large scale figure build. But I haven't built that yet. But I did just get the mini figures from the U-wing here. I built like a little display stand for them, and I'll put them in there. That was one of the things I need to do this weekend.
Very
get them
cool.
onto the K2SO shelf.
So
what shirt are you wearing? I
Yeah.
thought so.
Oh yeah.
Are you coming?
I'm not sure if I can make it. I'm not sure if there's you guys, I think you said last time there's still tickets available. Like I would really love to come. I really wanted to come to the first one that you did. For anyone that can't see this t-shirt, by the way, this is Rogue Fun. Rogue Fun.
And Jason's showing off a Greedo head.
That's so cool.
That'll make its appearance at Rogue Fun.
That's very, very cool. So detailed as well. Yeah, if I'm not sure, we have a couple of things going on at that time of year next year, and if I can, and if there's still tickets available, I would love to come. I've been following this podcast like like 3 years or something. Like I think I emailed you like 2022 was the
Yeah,
first time that I
yeah.
made contact. And I can't. I think there was a day where I was on Spotify and I just typed in vintage Star Wars and like I don't know what's going to come up. I have no idea why. And your podcast was the first thing that came up, and I just put it on, and I've just been listening ever since, like going
Awesome.
back and finding other things. And then when I heard about Rogue Fun, and you said I think there was a couple of other Brits like made it over to the last
Yes.
one. So
Yes.
yeah, I was like, oh, I really should go to that, and then it didn't work out, and the tickets had all sold out. But this time I was like, I've got to go to the second one. And if there are tickets available when I figure out I can go, then I will definitely be there because I'd love to come. I'd love to come to all, see all these
Yeah,
other folks that you guys have kind of created this community. And
absolutely.
I'm not a member of the Georgia Alliance or anything like that, but like I feel like I know all the main players, at this point.
Yeah.
So
Are
Yeah,
you on
just
Facebook?
I'm not on Facebook anymore.
Okay.
I'm considering making like just a small anonymous account because I used to use it to do toy identification. Like I buy a lot of toys and then like post in groups saying, "Hey, does anybody know what the heck this is?" And it'd be like a tiny little pistol from a GI Joe figure or something like that. Just trying to figure out what it was. That was the only reason I was still using Facebook, and I just can't. I've left Twitter as well. Like I can't be bothered with the level of stress that it brings me versus the reward.
yeah.
But Rogue Fun is like one of the few reasons I would be tempted to go back to Facebook in some way. But yeah.
So real quick, I know we got to end it in a second, but
Oh, I'm
since
good
you
for
you
now. I
like
got a few more
K2SO, huh?
minutes.
What
I
was
got a
that?
few more minutes.
Okay, so
Cool.
are you an Alan Tudyk fan since you like K2SO so much?
I am, and I liked Alan Tudyk from Firefly and also from iRobot. Like I didn't know that it was Alan
Yes.
Tudyk, but like Sonny, the robot from iRobot, I remember thinking, I realized this as well. Like all of my favorite characters from stories and media somehow seem to be robots. I don't know what that says. Well, I think I know what that says about me, but like Terminator, iRobot, K2SO, even like people used to say that I sounded like C3PO when I was in college. And I was like, am I offended by that or no, I think that's okay.
It's just very proper.
Very proper, and I'm mostly made of gold as well. So but but yeah, just like the a lot of those characters I feel drawn to, and I didn't realize that like Alan Tudyk. I obviously I recognized the name when I saw Rogue One. I was like, this is absolutely my favorite character. What the hell's going on here? So I was really glad when they brought him back for Andor as well. And new merch. I just picked up I haven't unpacked it yet. When I was in Arizona, I found one of the Andor branded K2SO action figures at a
Very
good
cool.
price. So I picked that up. That'll go into the cabinet as well.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna sell out of Rogue Fun until next year, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So just keep that in the back of your
Cool.
mind.
Yeah. If
I think it's gonna be like I think I mentioned this before. It's gonna be like a Kickstarter where there's a big
right.
surge in sales and it dips, and then as we get closer, it's gonna surge again.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we're gonna announce our panels January, February, March, April. So I would imagine those would stir up some ticket sales. So I
That's
think until
awesome.
the rest of the year, it's just gonna be pretty slow.
That's great. I know as well you that based on the folks who attended last time, and also the stuff that this is again we talked about Terminator more than we have about Star Wars. I'm not sure if your listeners going to feel shortchanged in some way here,
It's fine.
but the Terminator 2 kind of like action figure stuff and all of the different imprints they made like Future War and T2 3D and stuff like that for that. Those that's my collection focus now, beyond Star Wars and the Aliens versus Predator stuff that they made, but I saw with the Blue Milk book that you've been talking about. Like I'm signed up for that. Like I've got that arriving in November or whenever it ships. Like,
Tim Effler book?
Tim Effler book, and I
Yeah.
was looking through. I was like, this is awesome. Like look at the designers for for kind of like behind the scenes. And I looked at one of the thumbnails, and it's the contents page, and I can see it says Terminator 2. I'm like, yes, behind the scenes stuff. So I've been like picking up as much context material, like literally material from Kenner employees as I can in the past couple of years, and I've got a bunch of original photographs of the original pitch that they made
Oh
to
my gosh.
the license holder. In fact, do I have it right here? I have it right here. Oh my God. Wow. This is because I was scanning it earlier. But I got this from there's a fantastic, very, very nice, friendly guy called Tom Nyheisel. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And he was one of the marketing guys. I just grabbed this. So this is just like the cover picture, but he sent me all of the original photos. I have like these actual like 10x8
Oh, that's
photographs of
awesome.
Wow.
these are the original prototypes that they made to try and pitch for the license. And he
Wow.
sent me like a cover letter to say, yes, this I work there. This is a letter of authenticity. But I have all of these photos and so on. And I got into this discussion with him about like what happened to these prototypes. He was like, well, they sent them to us to photograph for the marketing and for the, for the pitch that we had to make to the license holders out in California. And then the designers would have taken all those prototypes. And when Kenner was bought up and, all that stuff would have gone to Hasbro, it would have gone to, the East Coast. So I have no idea where any of that is now. If you can find any of the designers, you could ask them. Maybe they would know where that stuff went. I'm like, I wonder if Tim would know about that, considering there's a part of his book that's apparently going to be talking about Terminator 2. So, yeah, the stuff that you had previously with like the designers and the people who talking about these guests who are talking about these things and being part of that kind of social community, that's the stuff that really interests me now. I feel like there was a moment where I went, anybody can buy these toys and like find them secondhand or, collect them and find gradable examples and prototypes and stuff. But then to like get the really behind the scenes information, the truly rare and one of a kind stuff, that's, Glenn often talking about, the wax sculpts and the test shots and stuff like that for these figures. That's really hard to find. And, yeah, that's the focus stuff that interests me now, and there's none of it out there for Terminator. I've got a bunch of it for Aliens and Predator, but I've not been able to find anything for Terminator yet.
You've just opened up another can of worms, and it's a good thing where we got a hard end. We're gonna have you back on to talk that kind of stuff because I'm a Bill and Ted, so the stuff you've got for Terminator, I've got for Bill and Ted. So we could talk totally different ends of the spectrum. And Jason's got it for the action fleet stuff. So I mean, we could talk about it from 3 different angles, and I think we'd have a really good podcast. So we'll definitely have to have you back on.
Absolutely, yeah. Love to geek out about that stuff. Yeah, fantastic. Count me in.
Well, I just emailed Rich at Blue Milk to see if our Terminator 2 prototypes in the Tim Effler book. So.
Oh, sweet. Oh,
we'll see. Oh. I'm trying to kill some time here to see if he can get back to me, but
Rich is fun. He gets back to you either immediately or 3 days later.
Yeah. There's some great stuff in the book. I've seen some previews, and I think I like the unreleased toys because they're like 95% there. It's just like someone at some point said no.
Let me just take this.
But there's a lot of great stuff in that book.
This is exactly that kind of thing. So this is something I've had graded by CAS.
Oh my goodness.
The Predator, the Ultimate Predator. Like this is a soft rubber like cast of this, and like this version apparently didn't get released. And I took this to the person filling out the paperwork for CAS, and they were like, I have never ever seen this. I've never seen anything like this before. We have to archive this. Like, please, like, submit this. Like, okay, cool. But like, when you see this level of like, I can't figure out how this is different from the one that did release, but apparently it is. That's the explanation that they gave. So I need to maybe do a little bit more research into this. But like, the fact that this is something unreleased, I'm like, great. It's an unreleased prototype, and that would never have gone any further. I have a piece of paper that says that's what it is, so that's what I'm going to choose to believe. But yeah, and I still wrapped in the plastic. I haven't even unpacked it yet. I need to get the acrylic on display, otherwise that's a lot of money sunk into nothing.
So you do collect prototypes.
Yeah. I have a few bits and pieces. I say mainly for Aliens and Predator. For some reason, that's the one that I found the most of. I have like proof cards for the Alien stuff and like test shot bits and pieces.
Wasn't there, Glenn, hasn't there been recently a Terminator 2, or is it, I'm thinking of something on Deal or No Deal, the proof cards?
Maybe? You need to get on Facebook just for
get
that.
on Facebook.
Yeah, okay.
It's just Georgia
make your
Alliance
shadow
Deal
account.
or No Deal. You never know.
Right. There is. There's a Deal or No Deal account where you just basically you throw a price out and they say deal or no deal. And then it's basically an auction site that's not, it ends when the guy who posted it says it's going to end. But there's stuff and then there's a prototype page. So you need a shadow account on Facebook.
Okay, so
You'll
that's
get
part
in
of Facebook. That's not like a separate website. Okay.
correct. Yeah.
I've heard you talk about it, but for some reason I assumed it was like a separate website.
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
here's
oh,
here's
okay,
a
there we go.
UK press kit from Terminator 1, which seems like
Uh,
it'd be right up your alley.
I I'm looking around at this at the
Oh,
piles
you
of
have
stuff that
it
I need. So
already?
I feel I have Terminator 2 UK press kit. I don't have Terminator 1.
Do you have the term?
Wow. See, we're
Uh,
spending his money already, Jason.
yeah. Do you have the Terminator Micro Machines?
I do. I have I have the set of the
Nice.
three sets of just the small figures, and then I have a loose the T800 play set that turns into the steel mill, which is
Nice.
looking down at me with its very creepy big eyes from a shelf over there.
It's
But
a
yeah,
very
those
cool piece.
they it I never knew that they made those at the time, like the Aliens, Predator, Terminator things that would have been right up my alley when I was, a kid at the time that those things came out. I remember the Action Masters that Kenner made, like
Yep.
the die cast things,
Yep.
and
I had those.
a bunch of Star Wars ones as well. But like, yeah, micro machines, I decided to collect them all still packaged and everything. I need to get like cases made for them because they're such a specific size, like the
Well,
packaging.
there's got to be something said about making toys about rated R properties that kids probably haven't seen and won't see anytime soon. And so they made limited runs with the Micro Machine stuff because of that.
Yeah. I can imagine like today. Can you imagine if like Kenner was still around, they were making like Alien Earth, like action figures with like all this body horror and like weird like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean Kenner made some amazing, weird, horrifying toys that we should never I would well, as we know, would never have seen or understood what Terminator was if I hadn't seen those action figures and decided I want those as a child.
Right.
Um
He
as
looks
opposed to
cool.
Star Wars, Star Wars being fed to me by my parents. Like, here, you've done well in your first week at school. Have an action figure. Um, I did obviously like Kenner was Kenner was the US thing. Palatoy was the UK kind of
Yeah.
imprint, and that was the head office and the factory, I guess, was where they assembled everything that was kind of shipped in. Was about 15 minutes away from where my grandma lived.
Mm.
And even because I was born in London, we used to travel up to see family in the Midlands. But the Palatoy factory in Colville, we would drive past it all the time. And there was also a Mattel warehouse as well that we would drive past. And I recognized the brand names, but I didn't know at the time, I didn't have that connection. And we did a couple of those mail-aways where we collect the proof of purchase stuff. And my dad would stick it in the mail. I got my Rancor Keeper, my original Rancor
Yep.
Keeper was
Yep.
the mail away, and my Emperor Palpatine was the mail away. And I remember
Oh my God.
asking my dad, like, did the mail come? Did the mail come? Like, no, not today, not. And then finally, like on a Friday evening in, like, I don't know, 1986 or something, he was like, here you are, Emperor Palpatine. Oh my God. Well, the Emperor, of course, at that point. But
That's
yeah.
great.
We haven't talked really at all about the differences between US and UK, but
No,
No.
that was the point of having you on, and then we went on a totally different direction. We've got 3 shows we could make, 2 more shows at least.
there we go. Yeah.
We can have you back on real soon.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll go in a little bit more focused, and I'll try to rein in my Terminator enthusiasm a little bit more. But
Well,
I've recently found like the differences even between the UK and the rest of Europe. Like my manager at work is Italian, and he was like, "We didn't really have Star Wars." I was like, "What? Like what? What did you play with like when you were kids? Like this is a universal experience." I thought.
noodles. You just played with noodles.
But again, like really strangely, they had a huge influx of Japanese like anime inspired toys
Huh.
that
Yeah.
we never saw in the UK. Like we would never get those kinds of things. And there's
Wow.
collectors now who are focusing specifically on these Japanese import toys that were sold throughout Europe where they didn't have access to these licensed products
Mhm.
in the 80s and 70s, 80s, 90s. It's really fascinating. Like the licensing agreements that they must have had in different markets is quite a geeky, spectacular subject, I guess.
Right. And there's a big Japanese influence in Hawaii. So there's a big,
Right.
there's Japanese vinyl toys in Hawaii that is just like, you don't think about it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Because like kids, like when we all just fixated on whatever toys we had, like, yeah, Star Wars, Transformers, Master of the Universe, like, yeah, sure, we're going to play with all of these together at the same time. Because to the kids, it doesn't matter. They're all equally exciting. And so if you take out some of those recognizable brands, like I never had, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica toys when I was a kid. I never had like the A-Team or anything like that. But my friends did, and they were obsessed with those things. And so I think what you imprint on when you're a kid definitely influences what you're interested in collecting later on. But yeah, I've never heard of half of the toys that they would sell in France or Italy, and never heard of those brands. Oh yeah, of course, this was a huge part of my childhood. I've never heard of it. I've never seen one of these before.
Right.
That's a whole other level of toy collecting.
Well, I hope for your sake they can figure out Terminator. They seem to have figured out Alien with Alien
Yeah.
Romulus and Earth,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
Predator with Prey and what's the anime? I just
Oh,
watched it.
Killer of Killers.
Killer
Is
of
that it?
Killers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were, 10 out of 10 properties, and then every time they make a new Terminator, it's like 2 out of 10. It's like hopefully they could figure that out for Laurie.
For me specifically,
Yes.
I'll write them a letter. I actually
Why don't you just write the movie?
well, I a while back for a project that one of my old colleagues back in the UK was working on, they were interested in branding a board game as like officially branding it as Terminator. And so I reached out to the company that does the licensing and so on. I learned a lot about how licensing of supposedly, ongoing movie properties kind of works from those conversations I had. A very nice, very patient guy who was like the lawyer in charge of like negotiating these deals. But like that project didn't happen. But like I learned a lot about the considerations they have and the reasons why. For example, the Terminator designs look different, but like significantly different, even between like Terminator 1 and 2 and like Genesis or the other ones. Like even the supposedly, oh yeah, it's the T700, the T800
Yeah.
infiltrator prototype. It's subtly different. Like there are legal reasons why it has to be subtly different. And
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, yeah, the like Terminator 1 and 2. I think this is just it didn't occur to me, but it's out there. Like you can find this information like on Wikipedia, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything too drastically here. But like a different entity owns those two movies compared to Salvation, compared to the other
Oh, that makes
properties. And
sense. Yeah.
so I know there was obviously, I think James Cameron was it sold the rights for $1 or something
Yes.
to
Yes. So he
get
could
it made.
direct
So
it.
yeah, and that I believe that has had knock-on effects on various things, and also
Mm.
like can you use all the actors' likenesses when you create these products? We've seen that with Star Wars, with was it the Tonica sisters, for example, for a long time, like absolutely can't make action figure likenesses of these characters.
Yep.
And I think there is with the Terminator Salvation stuff, Christian Bale clearly did not have like a likeness agreement in place because all of the John Connor action figures have a covered face, like a bandana over his mouth or like big goggles. Like you can't see who that's supposed to be. And I haven't seen an action figure in the likeness of Arnold for quite some time as well. So I think there's maybe some stuff that we're not seeing behind the scenes. And I guess that happens for all licensed products and all IP
Yeah.
ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting to me that they brought back Ian Holm, like using his likeness again, because
After he's passed.
yeah, and
Mm.
whether we think that's something that
Ethical.
it's in good taste and ethical and so on. I think it's interesting that you can see where, like I had the board game of Alien, based by Ravensburger, I think, and all of the characters from that, the Nostromo ship, they're all rendered in not photorealistic, but very close representations of those characters. You can see Brett is Brett, Dallas is Dallas, Ripley is Ripley. But then Ash, as the android, he is cloaked in shadow, his eyes just sort of shining out of the darkness because he becomes an antagonist character depending on how you play the board game. And I'm like, did they not have the like Ian Holmes estate's permission or something? Could they not get the likeness requirements for Ash or something? Because that would explain it. But then they absolutely, used him in the movie stuff. So yeah, it's fascinating to me. We never see half of the conversations that must happen with this kind of stuff, like legal requirements for licensing and that kind of stuff. But you know what? If they make a toy of it, I'll probably collect it.
Just probably.
Most definitely.
Yeah. I'm saying probably because I know that my wife will listen to this, and then I'm not committing to myself to any future collection promises. But there's definitely some boxes at some point I may unpack, and then I'll have to deal with yes, this is now officially part of the collection, is now visible. I'll then have to account for decisions I made in years past to acquire this stuff.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Laurie, for listening. We
Of course.
appreciate you coming on. We'll have you on again soon so we actually can talk collectibles and Star Wars.
Absolutely. No, it's an absolute pleasure. As I say, I listen to you guys all the time. It's really great to speak to you in person, and I hope some of this or any of this was of interest to some of your listeners. But yeah, we'll focus more on toys and Star Wars next time, I guess.
Anything else, Glenn?
No, man, it was great. Yeah, I can't wait. It's awesome when we have somebody like you on, and then we can roll it into more stuff, because it's like you just start bringing more stuff. So yes, thanks for listening, and thanks for coming on. And
Of course, thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out and points people to our show. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We love to make you part of our show, like Laurie. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People, collect for the love of it. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. I'll be back.
Yeah, only in a rerun. Wait, that's the wrong movie. Okay.
get to the chopper.
Oh, now you put me on the spot. I've got to think of an Arnold quote. Why has my mind gone completely blank?
It's not a tumor. I swear, it's not a tumor.
Yeah, it's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
It's not a tumor.
I was looking forward to saying this is the way.
Oh, sorry. This is the way.
This is the way.
I don't want to cheat you.